Where have you been? It's been a long time since I've been here, I know. So it's a pleasure being here once again. And from what I understand, I'll be doing your 9 o'clock service now once a month. So that will start in February. So my usual custom is to open up with the Lord's Prayer in his own language, in the Aramaic tongue. And we're going to use that for the meditation. So what I'd like for you to do is take a nice deep breath, relax, and picture yourself back almost 2,000 years ago, when Jesus' disciples came up to him, and they said unto him, Malpana, or Rabbi, teach us to pray. And he said, when you pray, pray something like this. Aun washmeya nitkedeshmach te malkuthach nehwe sevianna que canna de shmeya appar a haulan lach masunkana nyaumana washwachlan haubain e canadap hanan shwakin lahayawain la ta'linsiona ella pasan min bisha mithol di lahi malkutha haila tishpochta la alam almin. Amen. Take a deep breath and open your eyes. My subject this morning is the blissful mind and heart. People have often asked me from time to time, did Jesus, by the way, it's hard for me to say the word or the name Jesus. I'll tell you why. Because if he were here today, and we'd say, would Jesus please stand up? He'd look around wondering who Jesus is. In Aramaic, which is the language he spoke, it was the language of northern Israel during his time in the state of Galilee, and actually it was the major language in all Israel. But Jesus spoke what we call the northern dialect of Aramaic. And in the south, they spoke the southern Chaldean-style Aramaic. The Aramaic you will hear me speaking today, or mentioning, and as I did in the prayer, is the classical Aramaic, which is almost identical to the way it was pronounced almost 2,000 years ago. Not exactly, but almost identical. All scholars agree with that, the Aramaic you hear, the way he spoke it. And I chose the subject, the blissful mind and heart, because I wanted to give you a different view and an understanding of something that Jesus spoke and gave to us that we call the Beatitudes. Now, our word beatitude comes directly from Latin. And really, I know we like to use it in New Thought to say the attitude to be. But really, that's not what it means. The beatitude comes directly from Latin. And it's from the word beatus. Beatus. And the word beatus means happy. Happiness. It's a little different than when we just say attitude. It means to be happy. And in Aramaic, when Jesus gave what we call the Beatitudes, he used another word, and we translated it into a word that doesn't convey the full meaning. We translated it as blessed. Blessed are the so-and-so. Blessed are the so-and-so. And we miss the meaning of it. You see, this is the problem. When you go from one language to another, you lose the impact and shades of meaning. And a lot of Jesus' teachings, many of his sayings, a lot of his sayings are misunderstood too. But a lot of what he said, the shades and the power behind his words don't fully come across in English. And in the Beatitudes, which I know I don't have time to do all 9 Beatitudes, I just chose 2 to give you the meaning, and I translated as close as I could in English. Because, of course, I will tell it to you in Aramaic, but it wouldn't do anything for you. But I tried to bring it as close as I could in English to that Aramaic impact and power when he said these words. You see, when you're reading it from a book, like, for instance, we'll take the first Beatitude. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And boy, have we misinterpreted that. Kingdom of heaven has been totally misinterpreted because we've interpreted it as a place that you go to when you die. And Jesus wasn't talking about that at all, the kingdom of heaven. And that's how it's been interpreted. And the problem is the word kingdom, and the problem is the word heaven. Well, I'm talking about English. It is the word. I will tell you in a minute what the words are. But we lose that impact. When he gave it, people were moved when he gave these sayings, what we call utterances. He was speaking directly to the people. First of all, you have to picture what is going on. It says, Jesus saw the crowds. And when the crowds begin to gather, and a lot of them just came for healing. They wanted a healing and then go away. But he saw the crowds. There was no way he could approach them. He didn't want to get just the crowds. He wanted to get his disciples. So it says he saw the crowds. When he saw the crowds, he went up on the mountainside and sat down. He sat down. Because when you get ready to teach, you sit down. That is the way they do it in the Near East. In fact, that is the ancient way. You stand when certain words, holy things are said, something like that. But when you're getting ready to teach, you sit. And he went into meditation. This is why the next verse says, when you're reading it, this is found in Matthew, the 5th chapter, the 1st and 2nd verses. The Beatitude starts in what we call the 3rd verse. Now, you realize this is written as literature. You got to realize when it was given, though, it wasn't literature. It was an expressive way of speaking. And let me tell you, Jesus wasn't like us, formal at all. He was very expressive. This is why I brought myself down. It's hard for me to be up here. And then I forget, when I was in Scotland lecturing, and I was at one of these old-fashioned Scottish churches where you go way up high, and you slide a panel door, and you come out of this panel door, up, and you look down at the people like this. And I thought, what am I going to do? And you're speaking down to the people. That's no good. Jesus never spoke down. Jesus spoke directly to the hearts and minds of the people. So what you have to picture now, it says, and his disciples approached him. He sat down, but they wouldn't say anything to him. not until he was ready to speak. This is why it says, and he opened his mouth. You know, translators like to drop that expression, and he opened his mouth. Because they say, well, you got to open your mouth to speak. Why is that in there? Because that means he is ready to speak. It's how they express it in Hebrew and Aramaic. He is ready to speak. Sometimes they will put their hand over their mouth like this. And when a speaker does this, you don't disturb them. The minute he moves his hand, you know he's ready to speak. So this is what Jesus was doing. He was contemplating, looking at his disciples, looking at his students. Talmidao are students. Talmida is singular, from the word Talmud. So this word, students there, is one who's ready to learn, and he's looking into their eyes, into their hearts. He's reading their souls. And when he was reading their souls, then he was ready to speak now. And that's why the first thing he does, he looks at them. And now I'm going to say it in Aramaic, and then I'm going to give you how I translated it into English. He says to them, Tu echon il meskene bruch dilhoni malkuta dashmeya. What is that? Blissful are they. I'm going to say it again. Blissful are they. Literally, we translated the poor in spirit. But that has to be understood what that means. For, we again translated, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I don't do it that way. For theirs is the councilship of the heavens. For theirs is the consulship of the heavens. Or councilship, however you want to say it. It's a complete different meaning. What was he saying? And why were the people excited over what he was saying? In fact, when he got through with this whole thing, it says the people were stunned. The disciples were stunned, the people were stunned, because they never heard anyone speak like this, because he spoke directly to their own souls. He excited something in them when he spoke. And I know he didn't go around stiffly and speak. He, with all his emotions, because in the Near East, you've got to speak with all your heart, with all your being, with everything that's in you. You've got to be expressive of it. So when he says this, he's saying, and he's looking at particular people, blissful are they. Blissful. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit here. Let's talk about bliss. What is bliss? Well, it's happy. The word blessed does not convey that. What it conveys is a different state physiologically, biologically. You know, we think of just Jesus' teachings as strictly spiritual, but he is saying something biologically. Blissful, to be blissful is a physical state. If you're happy, are you this? Are you? You can answer me. No. Okay. If you're blissful, what are you? Extremely happy. And you want to make everyone happy like you, right? Thank you. I love that. Yes. That's right. You want to give that. So this is a strong word. You see how blessed doesn't convey that. The word is tuwa. Tuwa, just the word itself. T-O-W-A. Tuwa means to be in an extreme state of happiness. An extreme state of happiness. Tuwe hon. If I say hon, I say blessed are they. Now, let's talk a little more still about bliss. We were made to be blissful. Okay, now I'm going to tell you something. We have in our bodies, in our biological makeup, every system, all your organs, your nervous system, your brain has receptors. And these receptors are called anandamide receptors. Well, where did I get that word from? Well, I didn't make it up. Scientists have. Anandamide is, the scientists stole this from the Sanskrit. And in Sanskrit, it's the word ananda. And ananda means to be in bliss. To be in bliss. But the scientists said that they couldn't understand why we had these bliss molecules in every physical system that we have. Then they discovered what they call a molecule. A molecule is a neurotransmitter. We're speaking physically now. Is a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter is what sends out and connects everything together. You know, all, in the brain cells, all the neurons. You know, we don't have neurons confined to the brain. I know we put everything up here, but it's not. It's all over your body. The mind is all over your body. Your brain is here. In fact, in the Near East, we always say, you know, tuition, I had an inner feeling, a tuition, and we always think it's up in here. It's not. In the Near East, they say, my kidneys told me. And you know why? Because they understood that the mind is not confined to the brain. So they put it, my kidneys told me. You ever think of your kidneys as talking to you? What we think of always talking to us is what? What's up here, right? This is always, but your kidneys are talking. Your liver talks. Your gallbladder talks. Your pancreas talks. Everything talks. Why? Because the mind encases the whole being. And this, you know, this is why we say, you are your best health person. Because you know your body. A doctor doesn't know your body. He only knows it partially what you tell him. That's it. But to really know your body, you have to be sensitive to it. Jesus knew this. So that the scientists discovered that we have this bliss molecule. And that's why we have bliss receptors in our entire physiological, biological makeup. Totally. And Jesus uses this word, blissful. In other words, how do you excite the bliss molecule? How do you get the neurotransmitter to bring homeostasis to your entire being? Your homeostasis is that balance in your whole body. And Jesus knew this. Not the physical terminology I'm giving you here now, but he knew that certain conditions of the mind, certain states, certain things you do or say excite bliss in us. We know now as a fact that it excites the bliss molecule. Okay. You know, and there's several ways you can do it. You can do it physically too, with chocolate. Before you meditate, take a little chocolate. Because it excites that bliss molecule in it. Certain foods will excite that bliss molecule. And as I said, just one of them. As long as you don't do the sugar in it. We want the chocolate with a lot of sugar. Well, then you're getting a sugar high. You're not getting the true bliss. So, but Jesus is not talking about chocolate. He says, blissful are they. Now, who are the they? The poor in spirit. Miskini bruch is how we say that in Aramaic. Poor in spirit is an idiomatic expression which means to be non-judgmental, to be non-arrogant, to be not overly proud. Mm-hmm. Pride comes before the fall, right? This is what he's talking about. Poor in spirit means those who are not full of themselves. That word spirit is misunderstood here. It's the word bruch, in spirit, meaning you understand that you are a part of humanity. Now, when I say non-judgmental, I don't mean that you lose your sense of judgment and balance and discernment. This means where you're non-critical, where you see yourself on an even plane with everyone else. If someone is struggling with something, you know you've struggled with something. So Jesus was saying, in other words, this mind attitude, let me tell you, if you go around with a non-judgmental attitude, you're in bliss. If you're poor in pride, you're rich in bliss. If you're poor in these other things, then you're rich in the bliss. Why? Because, you know, it's our thoughts and thinking. What is a hard judgment on someone? You know, and there's nothing worse. What I'm going to say now is terrible. Because we've been suffering from biblical tyranny. It's not the Bible's fault. It's the interpreters of the Bible. But we've been suffering from biblical tyranny. And Jesus and his teachings have been buried under it. We'd rather believe in Jesus than believe Jesus. There's a big, big difference. Because everyone believes in Jesus. But who turns their cheek? Someone slaps you on the cheek, what do you want to do? You look so innocent out here this morning. I'm going to come down and see the whites of your eyes. Jesus, when he gave this, he looked into them and says, he saw the non-judgmental heart and mind. He saw what was in these people. That's why he said, blissful are they, looking at them, who are non-judgmental. And we don't realize how even knowledge can make us arrogant. How easy it does, you know, when you know something that someone else doesn't know. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's easy to become arrogant and we don't realize it. And this is the trouble with the Bible. People have a certain way to do it, and if you believe differently, then I judge you on that. Religion, politics, philosophy, science, all of them do it. We're all caught in a big cauldron of knowledge, but you have to understand the knowledge should be coming from an open heart, not a heart that thinks it's full and has everything. We don't. We don't. And when you realize that, you can stand being with someone who doesn't believe the same way you do. Right? You can take it. But when people judge and saying, if you don't believe the way I do, you're going to hell, that is arrogance. That is arrogance. No one, and besides, there is no hell anyway. That's made up. They don't understand what hell means in Aramaic. There's no place where God is roasting people. No salt and pepper. I can see God in the, letting the devil use the rotisserie. This is all made up by men. All made up. I got to get going. I got to go more into the Beatitude. I get so full of this, and I'm only going to do 2, so don't let me go overtime. Okay, so now I'm going to jump to the third part of the expression here. For theirs is the consulship of the heavens. Okay, the word heavens, by the way, is a euphemistic term which means God. But we made it a place. It's not a place. It's a condition of consciousness. And that's what it means in the Aramaic, too. It doesn't mean the sky, the heavens. It's a condition of consciousness, of harmony, of joy, of understanding. And so this is why he says, this belongs to you. The minute you're in a blissful state, you are in... Exactly. Thank you. You are in heaven when you are blissful. And you see, this is what's so beautiful. It's so simple, so direct. And the people, when they heard this, can you imagine? Let's say you were a very non-judgmental person and kind to everyone, doing the best you could. Didn't say you were perfect, but you did the best you could. And all of a sudden someone comes along and says, blissful are you. Not only that, the kingdom of heaven belongs to you. That's God's counsel in you. That's powerful. That's really powerful. It's yours. In other words, I don't have to become a Baptist. I don't have to become a Methodist. I don't have to become born again. I don't have to. Don't you see all these things? We made all these things when the simple state of being non-judgmental and non-arrogant puts you in a blissful state because you get along with people. You are in heaven, and people who are around you can feel that heaven when you are that way. They can feel that. They know that. You put them in heaven too, because it emanates from you. And this is why people flocked around Jesus. This is why harlots and publicans and tax collectors and sinners felt at home with Jesus, because they felt this emanation of being God-soaked. And he gave it out. And here's the words to go along with it. I got to jump now to the next one because time is closing in on me. The other one I chose is misunderstood too. Okay. The next one I chose is blissful. Well, let me tell it to you in Aramaic first. Tu hon. Here we are again. Tu hon lelein dad kain bilibhon. Dechenon, nechzon lalacha. Okay, what did I say? I said, blissful are they. The pure, or I would also can translate it, the clear, the pure or clear in their heart, for they perceive God. All right, now we got several things to deal with here. What does, again, we have blissful, right? That's natural. Blissful are they who have a clear, pure heart. Now, right away, as soon as I put in English, heart, we've located it just here. But the word for heart in Aramaic is libba. That's why I said belibhon, their heart. Libba. Again, libba in Aramaic means mind. It means your mind. I know people say, oh, don't take away the heart. No. Because the minute I say mind, people think what? But you see, your heart thinks too. I told you, physiologically, the ancient world thought differently about the body than we do today. We have separated the body from spiritual energies. When the physical appearance in the body is an appearance of a physical energy, of a spiritual energy that has become material. Do you follow it now? In other words, everything you have physically comes from a spiritual counterpart. Everything. Your liver, your bones, everything comes from this spiritual counterpart. This is why spiritual healing can take place. Otherwise, you couldn't have spiritual healing. You'd always have to use a physical with a physical. But you don't. You can also bypass the physical with a spiritual. And I even worked with some person. I've told this, maybe some of you have heard it, but I'm going to tell it again. There was a young boy in my church that I had at the time in San Antonio. His name is John Dean. He was 19 years old. And I'm not going to tell the whole story, just a little bit of it. But he had meningitis and encephalitis. And I didn't know it, and that's a long story, but I found out and went to the Baptist hospital that they had downtown San Antonio. And he had everything was black and dark inside the room, and he had those blindfolds and all that on him because he couldn't stand anything touching him. And I prayed for him and silently prayed for him, and then I left, and then his mother chased me before I got onto the elevator. Mother chased me, and she said, oh, and they used my name I didn't like. I never liked my name Rocky. Because even though I am of Italian descent, and I had the name Rocco, but I didn't like Rocky because I wasn't like Rocky Graziano or any of the prize fighters. I was the opposite of that. And so I never liked it. But she came running to me, and they always called me Brother Rocky. So she came running up to me and she says, oh, Brother Rocky. I said, what is it, Betty? And she says, it's John, it's John. I said, what? And he said, oh, if he had only put his hand on me. I said, but he was in so much pain, I didn't want to do it. I felt to put my hand, I wanted to put my hand on his forehead. And he said, well, would you come back and do it? I said, sure. So I went back in. The bed was here, his mother was there, I was here on his left. And I said, John, I'm just going to put 3 fingers on you. Put it really lightly on your forehead. Just light. And by the way, the doctors, she just told me when she came and grabbed me, the mother, she said, they're getting ready to drill holes in his head because the brain is swelling too much. And I said, don't worry about that. So went in there. I said, now, John, I'm going to put 3 fingers right here on your forehead. He didn't say a word. I reached out, put 3 fingers right there, just barely touched him. All of a sudden, barely touched him. Something hit me here, went down my spine, down my legs, through my arms. I didn't even have time to tell John, watch out. He screamed. He screamed, arched up in bed. He said, "Oh, Mother," he said. His mother was right there beside him. "Oh, Mother." And he fell back down. And the nurse came running in because he screamed. The nurse came in, and the mother went to the nurse and said, "It's okay. His pastor was just praying for him." And he screamed, "Mother, I'm healed. I'm healed." It left him instantaneously. And they were getting ready to drill holes in his head. What is that? That is the Spirit manifesting to show you our bodies are really expression of Spirit. We have it the opposite way around, and we divide spirit and body, but we don't. We don't. The mind, if you want to know what does the spiritual mind look like, look at your liver. Is it clogged? So is your thinking. What is going on here? What is taking place here? So you see, this is why Jesus says, blissful are they, those who are pure in their heart. Libba. The word libba means mind, which means the expression of emotions and thoughts. Not just thoughts. Emotions and thoughts. That's what the word heart means in the Aramaic sense of it. This is your being. This is part of you. This is your. When you say heart, you mean your whole being. Because you're always expressing your heart, right? Your whole being's always expressing that. When you get angry, do you tiptoe? Oh, come on. You all, I'm looking at you, and you all look like, you have that look on your face. What? You never get angry. No, never. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. How anger can do, your whole body changes, right? The moment you do that, because your heart has changed. Your heart has changed. We think it's just in here. I'm telling you, it's your whole being. The mind is your whole being. And that's what happens to you. So he says, blessed are those who have a clear heart. A clear being. You know, when something is clear, it reflects beautifully. It reflects beautifully. A mirror, when it's clean, you can really see well in a mirror. And how about water? When the waters are murky, you cannot see clearly. When it's clear, you can see all the way down to the bottom. So a clear mind, a clear heart, a clear being. What does it say? The way we translate it in English is, for they will see God. No. Now that's another problem. It's Aramaic going into English. They will see. This word will see, it's not wrong to translate it will see, but this is what we call in Aramaic, we call it an imperfect verb. There's only two ways with the verbs in Aramaic. Either the verb is perfect or the verb is imperfect. Isn't that simple? Better than English. What it means is a verb that is complete, a verb that is incomplete. So what we would call a future tense, they really would call it an imperfect tense. because it just doesn't mean just down the road, because it means something that it could even be going on right now, but will always continue. Continuing. Just like the 23rd Psalm, when I translated the 23rd Psalm from Aramaic. Now, this isn't Hebrew, this is Aramaic. It says, the Lord shepherds me, and I lack nothing at all. That's what it says in the Aramaic. But if you're reading it in the tenses, it's all future. If you use English, and I've read someone who translated the 23rd Psalm from Aramaic, and they use the future tense. They don't understand the usage of the verb as an imperfect verb, which means something that is going on and will continue to go on. The Lord will always be shepherding you, and you'll never lack. You'll always, always, always have. This is what it's saying in the actual text. So it is here. What he's saying is, for these clear-minded, clear hearts, clear being, what? Perceive God. Perceive God. Now, the finale. This word God. It's a problem. This is why we have atheists without God. Because, you see, we're thinking old-fashioned. When we say the word God, we're thinking old-fashioned. What I mean is, we think of a deity. In other words, open up your dictionary. God, supreme being. Deity. And the minute we think of that, and the way the Bible portrays God, how does it portray God? As sitting on a throne. But these are metaphors. God is not a person. I know we have the Trinity. And the Trinity has given us a God who is a person. And it's not. I'm going to tell you the meaning of that word in a minute. It's English. We lose it when we bring this Aramaic word Allah into English. We've lost it, and we say God. That's why it says lalaha. They will perceive God. In other words, when your mind is clear, when your heart is clear, when your emotions are clear, when your thinking is clear, you perceive what we call God. So what is it? In Aramaic, if you're using a dictionary in Aramaic, and I have this dictionary is about this thick and this big, from Aramaic to Aramaic, and they have the word Allah. Allah, remember, in Arabic, they still use it. They say Allah. Allah, Allah. Arabic comes from Aramaic. Hebrew roots are Aramaic. So Allah means, if you're reading it, I'll tell you how we say it in Aramaic. We say, Ithia Rabba. Ithia Rabba. Okay. This means the great existent. The great existent. In other words, the term Allah, when you bring it into Aramaic as Ithia Rabba, Ithia, and we kept it in Greek. The Greeks took it from Aramaic. Listen to it. Ithia. How do they say God in Greek? Thea, Theo, Theos, Theon. That's a different way you say it in Greek. Because they took it from Aramaic. When they went from Aramaic, Ethia, Eastern Aramaic, to Western Aramaic, they changed the A to O. So instead of saying Ethia, they say Ethio. Theo. And then, of course, in Latin it changed completely. They used something else. But in the derivatives, In Italian, we say Dio, Dio. And in Spanish, Dios. All coming from Aramaic, from Ethiopia. And we always translate Dios and Dio as God. But it doesn't mean that. It means the self-existent. In other words, God, the meaning of this term God has to do with existence. You cannot separate existence from God. Again, I have to use English. You understand what I'm saying here? It means when you say existence, you're talking about God, not about three persons in one. And besides, if you're reading, I have a book called The Gem or The Pearl. It's written in Aramaic. It's called Marganita. The Marganita is the pearl, the gem. And it says originally, when they formed the Trinity, it was mind, wisdom, and life. You got it? Mind, Father. Wisdom, Son. Spirit, life. So it has to do with existence. God has to do with existence. That's why you cannot die. Existence will always exist. Always. Always. You cannot go out. Change form, but cannot go out. This is the meaning. In other words, when you have a clear mind, heart, being, you receive pure existence. You get to see something beyond your limitations, beyond all that. And that comes from a clear mind and heart. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Oh. I tell you, when I read this in Aramaic, I wish everyone understood Aramaic. I do, because it is so rich, and we've lost it. We buried Jesus under dogma, doctrine, belief systems, ritualism, all this, buried him deep, deep. And now we're digging him out, and bringing out the true Jesus and his teachings. Thank you. Oh, thank you.